Psalm 147 says, I've come to heal the brokenhearted. I've come to bind up your wounds. Didn't he say that his rod and his staff will always protect us in Psalm 23? Didn't he say he was going to anoint our head with oil and our cup is going to overflow with blessings in Psalm 23:5? Didn't he say that his goodness and his mercy and his unfailing kindness will be with us and follow us all the days of our lives? And then at the end of it all, at the end of our lives, didn't Jesus say that he's prepared a place for us in heaven? And family, if you haven't heard Apostle Theo's message on heaven, get it. It'll encourage you so very much. A phenomenal series on heaven. But Jesus is our coach. He's a good coach, and he only wants the best for our lives, and he wants to lead us to many, many victories. So what is our job? Our job, family, is to listen and obey our good shepherd, to focus on what he says to us and about us, and not listen to the devil and what he says about us regarding the problems we might face. The truth is, when we focus on the negatives, it's really difficult for us to see the positives. For example, the children of Israel, they were living under very difficult circumstances in Egypt. We know about this. Their ruler, Pharaoh, he made them work very long hours. He was a hard taskmaster, and they were his slaves. But the Israelites, they cried to God for help. They said, God, help us. And God heard them. Why? Because he's a good and he's a loving Father. And God revealed his incredible plan to Moses. In Exodus 3:7, it says, the Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I've heard them crying out because of the slave drivers, and I'm concerned about their suffering. Did you hear that, family? When they cried out to God, God not only heard them, but now he's going to answer them. And he said to Moses, I've heard them crying out to me. I've seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them, and so therefore I'm going to rescue them. And he said, Moses, I'm going to give them a land. It's going to be a phenomenal land. It's going to be a spacious land, a land for all of them to live in comfortably. They can bring up their children in that land. They're going to enjoy the fruit of the ground. There's a land, Moses, flowing with milk and honey. In fact, if we read in Deuteronomy 8:7, it says, for the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with brooks and streams and deep springs and gushing out into the fields and the hills, a land with wheat and barley, vines and figs and pomegranates, olive oil and honey, a land where bread will not be scarce, and you will lack nothing. Did you hear that, family? God says you will lack nothing. A land where the rocks are iron, and you can dig copper out of the hills. So there we have it. That was a provision that God had in his heart planned for them for their future. He wanted to give them total provision. And God's plan for us today is to give us total provision as well. And now we know that by a series of supernatural events that the Israelites witnessed with their own eyes. Now listen, family. It's not like it's like us. We heard about God delivering them, right? We heard about God taking them through the Red Sea. We heard about the walls of water that were on either side, while the 3 million. We heard about that. And I say it's like a walled aquarium. I wonder what the fish must have thought when they saw all these people going and taking, like Apostle Theo said, at least 2 hours to walk through the Red Sea. But they did it, and the fish were just looking at them. But they did it. They had supernatural events happening, and they were there when it happened, and God was delivering them from their oppression, from their suffering, from their misery and their journey began. The Bible even tells us that they went out with singing. They were so bold. Miriam had her tambourine. The ladies were dancing. They went out with singing, and they were so full of joy. But the journey had hardly begun when the people started whining and complaining. And they said, oh, we remember the fish that we ate in Egypt. We got free fish. We remember the cucumbers, the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. And, we have now lost our appetite. We only have manna to eat. Can you imagine? They said, we only have manna to eat. The manna was supernatural seed that God gave them. And he gave it to them supernaturally. They could just take it and bake it and make loaves of bread out of it. But here we have God's children. They're focusing their attention on what they didn't have, instead of focusing their attention on what they did have, or focusing their attention on their future, what God had promised them. Their memories must have been very short to forget what God had done for them, and they became ungrateful. But isn't that true in our lives, family? When we focus on what we don't have instead of being grateful for what we do have, what happens to us? We become dissatisfied.
Thank you for watching Dr. Bev's YouTube channel. We will continue to offer dynamic and uplifting highlights from Dr. Bev's messages. Please take the time to like and share the videos. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Keep watching the Dr. Beverley Wolmarans YouTube channel.